So this story has been brewing for the past few days, and I never got any time to address it. But again, I kept it for now, and I'm happy that we can come back and talk about it because I think it just continues to push and reinforce the points that I've been making for the past few months. I remember there was a video I was making, and I was responding to an audience member where I was talking about exclusivity. I remember Final Fantasy 16 had come out, and I said, with the way Activision Blizzard King, acquisition and the market is going, I think a lot of third party developers are going to start backing away from exclusivity, sans the agreements that had already been made. I remember that statement so well, and I was responding to this audience member of mine, longtime audience member, and I just can't find the video. I make a lot of videos, but I will do my best to hunt it down just so that we can see. Just weeks after that, Square Enix comes out and they start talking about the possibility of, oh, their game not doing well or making money. A lot of people blew that away. They blew it off. I saw, so-called, talking heads and opinion pieces saying, well, Square Enix has unrealistic goals. I saw a gentleman on, that posts their stuff on YouTube and Twitter come out and say that. And then later on, we started seeing that the director of Final Fantasy 16 was talking about being interested in bringing his game to Xbox. Then we found out that those games that were, exclusive to PlayStation, they pretty much bombed from a profitability perspective. Can you imagine how bad that is? With exclusivity money and even with their own investment, the game still bombed. The profitability still was basically low. That's damning. That's bad. Like, PlayStation gave them some money that they could have used to recoup their cost. So basically, in a sense, slashing their expenses, and they still could not make a decent amount of profit. This, to me, I think Square Enix's story is the story of 2024. There is not a single story that I think is as important as what Square Enix has basically gone through, to the point where they changed their whole, policy and said that they were going to be aggressively pursuing a multi-platform approach in their video games. More recently, on top of this, Shenmue, somebody said it's Shenmue 3, the former publishers were able to, in a sense, get the publishing rights transferred to a new publisher that's called ININ. Apparently, just a few hours ago, they started talking about possibly looking to see if more and more people wanted to see the game on other platforms, and they went ahead and put out a survey for this. Apparently, they have an entire survey on a Google Doc. I was shocked when I clicked the link to the survey. I was like, it's on a Google Doc. They said this: Happy birthday, Shenmue. The 25th anniversary of Shenmue release in Japan is coming soon. While the 5th anniversary of Shenmue 3's release was just celebrated last month, that's the story. What fantastic milestones for this legendary saga. We know you're eagerly awaiting a statement from us, and we deeply appreciate your patience. Our collaboration with YSNet has been very fruitful, but we're carefully reviewing all the details. Basically, when does this exclusivity expire? The process takes time. Oh yeah, time for the exclusivity to expire as what it takes, or trying to maybe, pry it out of Sony's, hands. And we thank you for your understanding. In the meantime, we've prepared a quick form with a few questions. Your feedback will be invaluable to us, so please don't hesitate so that your thoughts are known. And, it seems like, you probably go through which platform would you like to see Shenmue 3? Apple, Mac, what? Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5. Bro, the game's on PS4, man. Get this out of here. Let me tell you guys what's going on here. This is the truth. They want to know if this platform here is willing, the Xbox Series X platform, if they're willing to actually buy this game when it comes out. They're just masking it. Look at all the song and dance. Look at all of the running around just to address the simple truth. This game can make more money, so let's go ahead and find more places to sell it. Now, granted, there's conversations that PlayStation helped with some of the, marketing or some of the cost or whatever it is. But really, though, I don't necessarily know how this all went down. There was a Kickstarter campaign that kind of kicked things off and so on and so forth. But again, it's kind of weird how everything is played out. I'm looking at a subreddit here that talked a little bit about it. So this was 2 years ago. Shenmue 3 global sales. Now already a few years have passed after Shenmue releases. This person posts on the subreddit for Shenmue. Does anybody have current sales numbers of this game? There were only some numbers mentioned directly at the release, and nothing came anymore. I just want to know if in total, 100,000 games were sold, or maybe 250,000. The game itself wasn't a real success. I know this, but it was neither a flop. It was somewhere in the middle. If somebody has real data sales, please let me know. Somebody said this. They said, I'm sure with the Epic deal and the Steam release with console, the ridiculous cheap promotional offers, the game would have sold well, and so on and so forth. Most likely. That's what I think. And then it had a Kickstarter thing. So yes, the game, is probably okay, but the game is a living piece of software, and there's actually 30 million, and in the case of Switch, 140 or so million users. Think about it. It's like 200 and something million units of people that actually want to buy the game. I was in a little comment thing with somebody. We were talking about the porting of video games to other platforms. This person claimed that they're a salesperson, and they were kind of telling me that, I clearly don't know how video games are made. This is what this person told me. I laughed because, at the end of the day, I'm working on a video game project. In fact, one of my audience members asked me and said, if PlayStation were to offer me an exclusivity deal, would I take it? I said, if they pay for 100% of the cost and I give them the IP, I'll give them another name IP. They can take it. And because at that point, they're paying for the game. And you guys know my stance on exclusivity. If you paid for the development of the game, if it's your game, your IP, you can do what you want with it. So again, I'm not throwing all exclusivity out of the bus. First party exclusivity, I'm all for that because I'm somebody who believes that it's your property. You should do whatever you want with it. However, third party exclusivity, where they say, hey, we're going to give you a deal to block this game from going over here, man, go pound sand. Now, my project may not even be a thing. It may not work out. So I'm just saying in that instance. But this person was telling me this stuff and saying that, the cost of porting these games to other platforms is so heavy that if it's not worth it, it doesn't make any sense for anybody to bring their games to other platforms. And the reality is it's not even difficult for a lot of these publishers and studios to get ports done. They're not hard. In fact, they are a worthy expense because you have a market to sell your game to. That's why these Shenmue developers, the new publisher, is thinking about possibly bringing the game to the Switch because there's a big market there. It will cost them actually much more to do a Switch port because that will require for them to basically go ahead and, do a lot of optimization than it would a Xbox, port. Because the game came out on PS4. The Series X and the Series S will easily hold the game down without any problems. And they realize this. They're holding a product in their hand. Sales have already dried up on PlayStation, which every game will go through. It only makes sense that they expose another audience to, or another customer base to their game. This is why exclusivity is basically poof. That's why. It's a simple monetary principle that companies and businesses wish to make more money in the venture of of what they're doing. Because if they want to continue to go into game development, they have to continue to make sales. Like when sales dry up, that's the worst thing that can happen to a dev team. So what can a dev team do to mitigate that? Make sure that their game is everywhere. Repackage the game, make a remaster, make a bundle, these are all marketing strategies that you can do. But if you only have one addressable market, there's only so much you can keep doing. And the game, I don't even know if the game is on Steam. I think eventually came on Steam too. After taking some Epic exclusivity, all that money would eventually get sucked up somewhere to development cost or some executive's pocket at the end of the day. I don't know. But anyways, just thought I'd put this out there. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching the video. Appreciate you guys' time and audience. And hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.